How has your day been? We are waiting for our guest. How has your day been, Swam? Yeah, good evening. Hey, our guest is here. Oh. Well, I thank you had a good day. A little busy, but it's good. Our guest is connecting. It's taking so long. Could it be the internet is unable to join? Why? It says she's unable to join. No, no, no. Technology sometimes, how. Hey, finally. The drum roll. Yeah, finally. Welcome, Dr. Aiden. Welcome. Welcome to the Mentor Show.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you. Loud and clear. Good. Now, let's go for it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Mentor Show. I'm your host, Dr. Olushola Ajide. And as it is on this Mentor Show, we inspire you. On this show, we help you reinvent yourself. On this show, we help you make impact in your community, in your country, and on your continent. And we bring you guests who are trailblazers, doing great things in their sphere of influence and in their companies and in their countries and communities. And tonight is no exception. We have a great guest with us today. In fact, our guest tonight is a person of multiple parts. She is a scientist. She is a person of influence. She is a person, in fact, she ran for the mayor in Baytown in Florida in 2019. So you could see that our guest, and now she's also running an LLC, a company called the Learning Nomad. She's an educationist. She's a teacher at heart. So tonight we're going to be deep diving into our experience to learn tips and tricks that will help us to pivot to the next level. So welcome, Dr. Stephanie Aiden Adeyemo. Welcome to the Mentor Show.
Right. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes.
All right, awesome. I thank you so much for having me as your guest tonight. I know we had some technicalities yesterday.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that I'm joining you here tonight.
Excellent.
And I'm excited to bring you greetings from the lovely island of Jamaica, which I'm from, and also sunny South Florida.
Interesting. So what's the degree? How hot is it in Florida today?
Celsius or Fahrenheit?
Well,
It's mucho calor. It's overcast, but I'm not a meteorologist, but it's okay.
It's okay. All right, great. So let's go for it. Who is Dr. Stephanie?
Well, you keep it simple and short, and we'll do that. I would say I'm an innovator. I would
Okay.
say that I am a truth finder,
Mm-hmm.
and I would say that I boggle the mind sometimes when I speak to individuals,
Mm.
because it's it's never as it seems or just the way it is, right?
Mm.
So I will believe that in time, as we go through this journey that we're on, you create what you want to become.
Mm.
And so I would say in this moment, I am a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a sister, um, I'm an aunt, I am, use the word influencer.
Okay.
I'll take it if, I influence myself, right? So, I would say that I am whatever the universe needs me to be in whatever moment it is
Mm.
that
Mm.
I'm in. So
Mm.
that's who Dr. Stephanie Hayden, RDMO, is. So
In,
that's who I'll say I am in this
interest,
moment.
interesting, interesting. And I seemingly like those adjectives that you use to describe yourself. And I want you to unpack to give us more. When you say you are a truth finder, what do you mean by that?
Well, you said I was a research scientist, right? So
Okay.
sometimes in science, we don't necessarily go out to find the truth. We just go out to find the solutions
Mm.
and then put the facts to corroborate the story, so to speak.
Mm.
And what I would say is truth finder, meaning whatever the truth is for you. But, there are some people that do give you alternative facts, which are not the truth. It's just an alternative version of what they believe happened.
Mm.
But we always have to be grounded in facts, right?
Mm.
So
Mm.
if you're a truth finder, you're always going to be grounded in facts.
Mm.
You're right? We can't live off the opinions that others have of us,
Mm.
but we must make sure that we're centered and grounded in truth.
Mm.
Not self-righteousness, but grounded in truth.
Mm.
And so whatever society deems as truth is not necessarily your truth, if that makes any sense.
And as you are saying this, you are trying to, you are like you said you're a mind juggler. You are juggling my mind because I'm going back to my research and I'm looking at epistemology and what is truth and all those. And as you are saying that, I'm trying to look at that, because when you look at truth, so you are looking at truth from the scientific perspective now, not truth from the religious perspective. Correct?
I mean, and so religion again, and it's a topic that for everybody, I mean, they say something like on youth about you never come into a room and talk about religion, politics, or something to that effect. But I would say, don't talk about anything, because if you talk about anything, someone is going to have an opinion about it, right?
Okay.
So I would say that what we seem to frame our lives around is the idea of what people think should exist. And when we have ideas, we have to measure the ideas based on what we believe and what we think. It's not necessarily what someone else thinks. Oh, okay, that sounds great, but that's their ears that's listening to it. It's not what you're screening and listening to, right? So you have to make sure you measure your thoughts and your ideas, center yourself. Because I believe I was talking to someone recently. I may say this wrong, Edo State, and
Okay.
it's the women of Edo State forum, right? And I was speaking to them at the beginning of the year for a vision board and just centering of where we're going to be in the beginning of the year for their organization, and just thinking about their individuals just going around in the world, and they're living their life based on an idea that someone said they should be, right? So you're living your truth based on an idea that someone thinks you should be. Well, you're not really existing in your truest self. You are existing in an idea that someone says that's how you should be. You should be a doctor. So this is the idea of how doctors should look. You should be a teacher. This is the idea, but guess what? There's no really definition of what a human is. So why do we limit ourselves to the existence of what ideas what people have us to be? Whatever you want to be, you can become. Name yourself. If you want to be a truth finder, you're going to be a truth finder. Whether it's in public servanthood, whether it's in a pastoral position, whether you're an educator, whether you're a nurse, whether you're a wife, whether you're your sister, whether you're a daughter, whatever your position is in the phase of your life, you have to seek that for you, center it around you. And I know my thoughts may sound like, oh, I'm very self-centered. No. If we actually considered self sometimes before we think about others, a lot of the damage that we do wouldn't be out there, because we've centered around, how am I being viewed in the world? How am I treating myself? Am I self-caring myself? So if I'm able to self-care myself, I know how to treat others. You know? And that's a battle for a lot of people. You know, at one time, I did battle myself, because I wanted to know, why is this not happening? Why is this not occurring? And it's not anything that's wrong with me. It's just that I was limiting myself to the possibility of what I can be. And when you limit yourself, you're saying to others, I'm not enough. Right? And that's not true. You're existing in the exact quantity that you should be when your higher power, whoever you call that, or whatever is your lead, said you were going to be. And then even if you think you are just limit in what you are, you're limitless, right? Time exists for no one. If we say it's an hour from now, it's because someone said it's an hour from now. If we said it was 5 hours from now, even if 5 hours transpired, it's relative. What is 5 hours from now? You asked me the weather, right? Whether the weather was in Celsius or Fahrenheit, we are not going to experience the weather the same, right? Someone can see gloom and doom outside with gray skies, but then they're like, oh, it's so joyful. Look, it's something, right? And again, going back to that thought, it's where you center your thoughts, your ideas. You have to be able to know that whatever you think, whatever you do, whatever you become, it's centered in you. Because if you're whole, you can present yourself as that whole person in the world, rather than fractions of people that someone told you may be in your head. So you're just living out different types of people in your head, which that's chaos in science.
Interesting.
Chaos.
Interesting.
Chaos.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I think our guest, Dr. Adeyemo, is already unpacking and touching on a particular point, which is the fact that you, about, is it upper week or last week, which I did a show here, it was only me on the show, I talk about identity. She's touching on the issue of identity, of you need to define yourself, know yourself, define yourself, or else if you don't know yourself and know your identity, you will begin to fall based on what everybody says. And I seem to like the point in which she mentioned this issue of whatever it is, whatever exists now is a definition of somebody. And that definition of somebody is based on what the seemingly current world is. And because it's what the world is, there is the possibility for you as a person to be an innovator yourself, to decide, okay, you are wearing, sometimes I ask myself, they said it's blue. Why is it called blue? Why is it called blue? It's because somebody decided it is blue and sold the idea to people and they believe that it is blue. And that's why it is blue. Somebody said, oh, this is gray. Why is it gray? What is the meaning of gray? They said house. How does it doesn't, because somebody said that is what it is, and the person sold the idea and people believed the idea, and when people believe the idea, like you rightly mentioned, the society as it is, all of us agree that that is what it is, And that is why it is what it is.
Right, not to cut you off, but it's the group think of it all, right?
Mm.
So if the wall is yellow and we're all saying the wall is yellow, by the time we're done, the entire world will say the wall is yellow.
Mm-hmm.
But the wall is not yellow. It could be chartreuse, or it could be chameleon blue. It could be any. The thing is that identity is so tied into our family. It's so tied into our culture. But what do you do when you go somewhere that you don't recognize anything that's there? Even if it's a part of your culture. Like I went to Howard University in Washington, D.C., right? And it is a historically black college, right? And I'm from Jamaica, right? So there are so many different types of Jamaicans, just like there are so many different types, walks of life of humans, right? And in the States and around the world, they have this idea of constructed race, right? There's nothing called race. That's constructed. There is not even, we use science, there is not even a genetic definition to race. Because if we think about it, if we are all from one group, then we are all related. So we're all from one race. If you want to talk about race in the sense of humankind, right? We're just one. So there's no need for us to separate ourselves. But the way how it exists, people would be like, wow, it's just so much to unpack. There's so many different hurdles and burdens. What do I do? And what I say to people is reset. You know, this says relax, renew, reset. Reset. We can't always capture everything. We can't always understand everything that's going on. Just try to do the little piece. Do the little piece for you, and then your loci of people that are around you, then you create. Which segue me into something that I wanted to make sure I touch base on here. There is something that I put into the existence of the universe. And there's this young man named Akon, and I see that he wants to build, develop a synagogue, right? It's by the shores of the Atlantic, and many things are going on in the continent of Africa. And I know that there is chaos. It seems like there's chaos everywhere. Leadership is lacking. The leaders that you think that should be, paying attention to the people, a leader, you're leading people, right? And it's that integrity. It is that quest for truth finding and fact finding, right? So I want to, maybe someone is on the live, or when the live is shared, they may know him or know of him, but I would ask him to reach out to me, because I really want to look at the development of the education infrastructure of that city that he will create. Because to know where you're from, you can know where you're going, but you don't want anyone to come to write the narrative of the end of the story. If it's just beginning and resetting. And I feel like the pandemic has given us an opportunity to reset. And so that's what I would say. And my message to others would be, people say post-COVID, this is a 10 to 15 year situation. We have a very self-driven world. Everything is, how is this going to affect me? And I know I started out the conversation with centering around self. In order for yourself to be true, you also have to measure truth on a scale. And that scale is on you. If you don't value human life, then you can't tell someone to wear a mask. You can't, that's not going to resonate in someone's head if they don't even value their life. Right? So there's no post-COVID. There is mask up. In the pause, what are you going to do to center yourself to make sure you're doing your purpose in this season? It's not what someone asked you to do. It is what you need to do for you. Because if you play your role and your part in your season, the world actually gets better. Because 5 people around you will see that you are being reflective. You are going through the motions of checking yourself. Then those 5 people are like, oh, I see Dr. Hayden. She's doing something. I need to ask her, what are you doing? Well, you know what? I'm minding the business of me. So that I can make sure that I profit off the business of me, rather than having someone profit off me in my chaos. Right? If I know where I'm going, I know what I'm doing, I won't be squandered. Because time is of the essence now. And that's what I would say to people in the pause. There's no post-COVID. There's pause-COVID, because we're on a pause for now.
Now, the point you mentioned is quite interesting, and I want you to clarify that. Initially we started with the issue of know yourself. Then at the point we moved away, and it's as if to say that we are saying something different. So now, but how do you, in the society we find ourselves, it's as if you are assuming, when you say somebody should measure, you are assuming that the person has a capacity to do the measurements.
But here's the thing, again, remember what I stated, it's a measurement based on you. There's no one.
What is the metric?
I don't believe that we lack anything as humans. We don't lack anything. What we lack is the ability to sit down and sit down. We lack that. We lack the ability to pause. We want to always be searching and finding and searching and finding and measuring. Oh, how can I do this? How can I? Sometimes you just need to sit down and watch the air move. We cannot measure the infinite impossibilities that are out there. So, when I say to you, you only know what you should exist in. Don't try to put in your head what you think it should look like. Because at one time or another, all of us were confused. We did not know our compass. We did not know our center. Some of us still do not know. And it's not anybody to say you're lost. The person has to find out. You know what? I've come by this road 5 times already. I don't feel good here. Do you need to come by the road 6 more times to know that this way is not the right way for you at the moment? No. You don't want to trust what you're feeling. You don't want to trust. Why? Because someone has told you what you feel is wrong. Do you see that, sir? You're again measuring yourself based on someone else's point of view. I can't tell you, sir, you're lost. Nor can you tell me I'm lost. Because you only measure my sense of lostness, if that's a word, based on your perspective of your loss.
Well, it's quite the point is, and it's very interesting that it's as if we are tonight's conversation is getting more philosophical because of Dr. Hayden, and well, I would not on this show I would not want to put on my pastoral hat of defining lostness and that. Let's leave that so that we don't turn this into now. You mentioned earlier about I mentioned when I was introduced that you are an educator, and also the fact that you mentioned about Acorn's project that you want to help in shaping and providing a type of a roadmap to a sustainable education for the city.
Infrastructure.
Yeah, yes. Infrastructure for the city. Now take us back to how did you as a person become passionate about education? How did you come about this issue of education as a passion?
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I'm a truth teller and a truth finder. If you can find truth, you have to open something, a book, a thought, and recreate it, right? I have always had a thirst for knowledge. I've always had a drive to educate and to empower people to think for themselves. Don't let anybody give you what they want you to think. Seed it yourself, find what you need, and carry on. And education for me, it was just the window to walk through. Wherever I go, I'm going to walk through the window. I don't have to break down the door. I'm just going to open the door. If I'm not needed somewhere, I don't go. Because again, our time is limited here. I want to be as intentional in everything that I do because someone is depending on me 50,000 years from now. And that's not philosophical. That's factual.
How did you come about that? I know, at least for our audience, to be able to understand and unpack for our audience, how did you come about that knowledge? Now, there are two things. The knowledge.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? You are a descendant of someone.
Yep.
You just didn't arrive yesterday.
Correct.
For us to do what we need to do for our family, for our generations, for our culture, is that everything that you do is about a legacy of what you leave. That's not philosophical. What am I doing here? You don't need to search for purpose. Am I just going to exist in a 9 to 5 all day and that's it, and then just dig my grave and just lay down and that's it? What are you doing that's intentional? That's three things. 1, 2, 3. What am I doing that's intentional? Number 1, is this intentional? No, skip it. I don't need to do it. Number 2, is this intentional? Is this bringing me joy? Is this bringing me light? No, skip it. Move on. Third thing, is this bringing me joy? Is this? No, skip it. Move on. We all have a measure of our lifetime. Why waste time on frivolous things that bring us no joy, no peace, but long suffering? We don't need that.
So the point you are making here, which ladies and gentlemen, our guest is making, is the fact that in discovery, like we mentioned in our conversation earlier about identity, in discovering your purpose and your understanding, you need to realize that, like you rightly mentioned, you need to realize that you are not here for yourself, because 50,000 years from now, somebody will be depending on you. And because of that, there's a need for you to now be intentional in how you spend your time, intentional in what you do, intentional in what you get involved in, and not to say, as it were, while away time. But knowing fully well that my life is dependent on someone, I came from somewhere, somebody was before me, and that's very interesting, because was it not today or yesterday I was remembering my grandfather, his name. I was just saying, I just flashback looking at him. But you see, like you rightly mentioned, I just remembered his name, but he's no more here. My father is here, yes, I'm here. And like you rightly mentioned, if the world has not come to an end in 50,000 years from now, so they'll be remembering, one Dr. Ajide, one Dr. Hayden, who's living in Florida. And they'll say, maybe Swam also will be saying, people will be remembering what and how things were done. Now, before we go on, I want to ask another question in relation to that. Tonight seems to be more philosophical. Now, you mentioned...
I'm
No, 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 no.
Again,
Wait.
because I have a PhD and you have one too, but
No,
it's practical.
no,
Remember,
it's practical.
it doesn't take rocket science.
But
if we're existing on Earth here today,
yeah,
someone intentionally created us.
correct. Now,
Our parents,
what I want to ask,
our offspring, we were intentionally here.
correct.
You can't go back to like the sperm and the egg.
Correct.
So
correct.
what are you gonna do? Just take in air
Correct.
and space? You gotta be intentional.
Yeah, correct. Now, what I want to ask is, I'm still trying to help our audience to understand this idea of having self-reflection and themselves based on the fact of knowledge about your passion for education. And you mentioned the fact that the ability to be empowered, to want to empower, and we get this empowerment based on books we read, what we are told, even our I'm coming, even in the old times where there were no books, back in Africa where there were no books, there is the oral tradition of telling stories. So it's still based on what somebody said and they passed down, and those were the way in which people get knowledge. The father gives the oral story to the son. The son, before he dies, he says, my father, when he was here, he told me this, so I'm passing the same thing down onto you. And if you now take that same concept, it's also the same concept of a book, as it were. It's somebody's own perspective or somebody's own opinion or judgment about a particular matter or thing. And he's saying, this is my own voice. So
let me ask you a question, sir.
Yeah.
Because I know you're the interviewer.
Yeah.
But let me ask you a question, right? A little pushback here, right?
Yeah.
There's always a third or fourth party to cooperate something that someone says. And it's not necessarily their opinion, it's their lived experience. So like the griot or something, that's what they have the title for it here. Like they have a paper, someone passing around information. But what I'm saying to you is the following. The person experienced whatever they experienced.
Yep.
Told you, do not go by the water. I noticed the buffalo drowned. Do not go by the water. That person is going to go by the water. And they're going to see the buffalo drown or they will drown.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense, because the person wants to, he might not want to live by what he has been told, but he just wants to have his own, because the fact of saying don't go by the water already creates inquisitiveness to say what happens, even though you said buffalo drowns.
Right? Or that person drowns. So now people know that person went by the water and they drowned. So the next story comes, don't go by the water. Don't go by the water.
That person drowned. All right, now let's break it. Let's break it down now and go back. Welcome, Neoma. Welcome, Chioma, to the Mentors Show. Now let's go back. Take us back to Dr. Hayden at the age of 8 or 9. What were your aspirations? What were your aspirations? Who were your heroes? What were you looking out to become in the future at the age of 8 and 9, 10?
Oh, well, at age 8, I found an organized faith. That's something that happened.
You found organized faith.
Right.
What is organized?
Organization. It's United Pentecostal Church Incorporated.
Okay.
So that was an organized, we could call it a religion, right?
Okay.
And then at 9, I was disobedient, and I disobeyed my dad, and I got hit by a car.
Interesting.
At 10, I told my dad, because here there was a school, and they wanted to put me in a grade that I believed that I didn't need to be in, because I felt like I could do it. I didn't need to do that grade. So I told my dad, here's the thing. I'm not going to go to school. I'm going to teach myself at the library.
Homeschooling.
And my dad said, whatever you want.
Interesting.
And at 10, I did that. They called my dad within like maybe 3-4 months. And they're like, okay, she can come and take the test. Because at the end of the day, it's whatever I want to do. It's whatever my mind says I'm going to do because I'm going to accomplish it. So that's always how it's been. I have never walked the road that anyone walked before. It's the road less traveled. And that was my college admittance essay that I wrote to get into Howard University in D.C.
The personal statement.
The road less traveled. It's a very famous poem for somebody. The road less traveled. So a lot of the roads I've been on have been less traveled. So I may not have been. I was the person that went by the river, but I knew enough to throw something to see that the current moved. See?
Before you jumped in. Now,
my mind works.
Now, interesting. Now, can you please? You need to unpack for us the roads less traveled for you as a person. You've said you have your own way. You think the way things. Give us some of the examples of some of the things that you were trailblazed. You've told us about school. You decided based on I'm not going to go to school again, and they said, oh, okay, we agree with her, we bend for her, let her come and take the test. Give us some of the experiences you've had that shows this example experience you are talking about.
Okay. He's gonna probably like, huh? What? Okay. So I am never, when people meet me, they believe I'm very intense.
Okay.
The questions I ask.
Okay.
Because I just want to know about the person. So I'll give you a quick nugget, right?
Mm.
I went to South Africa.
Okay.
And one year I went somewhere and I was traveling with a group of people to educate people of EdTech South Africa. Right?
Okay.
And so I'm in a group of people where you would think that we are there to learn a lot, but we're also there to share.
Correct.
And so being there was eye-opening because someone called me a name that I've never been called before. Someone called me a nationalist. And I was taken aback because I was like, what? A nationalist? Do you know what that word means? And I was trying to stop someone from sharing information that was sacred, that was not to be shared.
Okay.
And when you say trailblazer, I think of myself as being the person that goes to test the waters, to let others know that it's rough, but if we hold our hands together, we'll get across the river. But some people may drown. But I tell you, if you do this one thing, I've tested it out 4 different ways. This is how it's going to end. And so when I heard that word, it did allow me to feel I was angered because no one defines who I am. And just reflecting on it now, I was trying to explain to the person that what they were doing was wrong. Right? But I was trying to advocate to them that I'm not a nationalist, and I had to stop myself and like, no. Why am I even?
Why would I define myself?
Yeah, you don't even know what you're talking about, right? I'm trying to save you from being in the water drowning because these people here, they're gonna drown you, and that's just it. So a trailblazer for me is that I go out and I sound the alarm. Hey guys, it's deep over here. I wouldn't go out. But it's not my job to tell them don't go out. It's if they want to believe me.
If they could believe, or they can choose. The power of choice. Everybody has a choice of what they want to do.
The empowerment to that moment when I was like, wait, I'm not a nationalist. That person doesn't know the definition of a nationalist unless that's what they heard before. See?
Perhaps their perspective is that if somebody behaves in certain manner based on these characteristics and behavior, the name for that person is a nationalist. And you were demonstrating those things they classify, they've been told before, and they say, well, you are a nationalist. Welcome, Wenadi Japa. Welcome, my brother. So now, let's go now. Look at it for during this particular period. How on this show we said is sparking creativity. How would you, as a person, define creativity?
Again, that's my definition. Going back to what we talked about.
Okay.
Some people might think I'm the least creative human. Their perspective, but I feel like the saying that I saw this show, the young lady says, "Name yourself. Whatever you want to become, you do." Listen, somebody see trash on the floor and they're like, "That's art." Someone wears no clothing, oh, that's art. Someone has a piece of yarn and they're like, that's clothing. Listen, time is limited. And if you feel that you have something to give to the world, give it. There is someone that needs it. If it's not this generation, it could be 50,000 years from now. The thought is going to arise. Like the words that I'm speaking now and the words that we're saying now is going to be recorded. And it is recorded on a live. People that are not currently here to hear it. But they eventually will see it, hear it. Someone will say, I heard someone say something like that, right? And then the legacy carries on with the words because someone is going to sit and process like, you know what? I thought the same thing, but I didn't articulate it that way, but this is how I said it. But again, the more people that think that way, that's how theories are created, right? And then we have these big books that people go, like you and I, and we go read it. We come up with a 300-page essay, basically, and our opinion based on facts that we research, ask people, publish it, and there goes an original thought in a book. And people will go and read it. And they'll say, well, I don't like that. Then they'll go out and create something based on what we put out as thought to counteract that. So, again, the world is everybody's. You have to be intentional with the time that you have here because it's not your time only. It's someone else's time that you're pushing forward. And that's how I look at life. It is the time that you are given to push something else forward.
Interesting. Now, ladies and gentlemen,
time just keeps going on.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, it's quite interesting. We've been looking at various aspects, and our guest, Dr. Aiden, has told us various aspects, and she's, I think, zeroing in on this for in defining creativity. That creativity, there's no definition. It is the way you or what you want to do, based on the way she started in the introduction, that you determine and define your own life. There's a need for you to be self-reflective, sit down and calculate your own life and let you be the definition of your own life, and not what society told you and what family told you or what culture told you, but what you as a person want to do with your own life. So if for you as a person you think, using toilet roll to sew a skirt or a shirt or a suit is creativity, that is your own perception of creativity. And this I think is quite very interesting. Let's go deeper. Now, for you as a person, you shared with me an experience of some people who you were able to influence. Some people who you were able to influence their lives, you were teaching them and having opportunity. Can you tell us about that story? And the reason why I'm asking that story is that On the Mentor Show is a show that helps people to make impact. And oftentimes, people find it very hard to know, how can I make impact? What can I do? I don't have influence. I don't have this. I'm not rich like Bill Gates. I'm not, people try. So just to break it down with that small experience.
So here's the thing. You called me an influencer. I said I influence myself. So therefore, I'm going to take it and say I'm an influencer because I influence myself.
Yeah.
In your family structure, right? Anybody that listens to their parents or listens to sage, wise counsel, you're being influenced by something. But you have to measure the influences that you would like to take in, right? So, for example, over the past 20-something years, 25 years, I have met individuals that I've been intentional with because I don't want to regret anything. Every decision that I make has been intentional. So, what I can say to someone that says, how can I influence someone? Can you influence yourself to do what you want to do? That's where you start. And notice all my thoughts are going back to the same thing. Know thyself. If you know thyself, you don't want carbon copies of yourself. Know thyself. I don't influence anybody to be like me. I just exist. By me existing and being intentional with others allows others to say, you know what? I have the maximum potential just like her. Because when she's cut, she is giving the same energy. When she feels pain, she may feel the same thing I feel, but differently. Therefore, intentional purpose is how you become an influencer. Be intentional with what you do and the time and minding your business, so that when you mind your business, others will see you minding your business and they will ask, how do you mind your business just like that? And you're like, well, here's the thing. Step 1, step 2, step 3. There you go. And every day is not going to look the same, right? Bill Gates, you can't compare yourself to Bill Gates. That's another show. But we'll talk later on that. Don't compare yourself to Bill Gates. You're not even Bill Gates. Like, we're not Bill Gates. We don't even look alike. We don't even have the same. Yeah, just, it's a lot. It's a lot to unpack.
The reason why I used Bill Gates was based on financial acumen. Yeah. Great. Now,
but I'm telling you, the person that has $1 is the same person that has a cent, because all it takes is one bad decision to lose everything. All it takes is one good decision to gain everything and more. So don't look at monetary gains. I get it. Every day your lights have to come on, but do people still make money if their lights are not on? You still got a brain. You're just in the dark. Perspective. I don't know. I'm just saying.
So, ladies and gentlemen, the point that our guest is telling when you talk about the issue of how to make positive impact is to be like she's used that word. If I should count it, is more than 20 times about being intentional, and I think that she said is where anybody you come in contact with, either at the grocery store or at the filling station or at wherever you find someone, you need to be intentional to say, okay, how can I be a positive light, as it were? Not necessarily trying to change the person, but you want to just add your own value and gifts, like serve yourself as a fruit to that person. Let the person have a taste of what it is that you, as a person, you have to give to the world. Like we had a guest on this show about some weeks ago who said he decided at a particular day to say, wow, I will begin to greet everyone that I meet, and I would smile to them and ask them, how are they doing? One person at a time. That was his own way of trying to influence positively. It's not as if he's giving them anything, but just to say, I will smile at everyone that I meet and I will ask them, how are you doing today? And that is an intentional way of making and being a change agent, as it were, because like you rightly mentioned, the environment, the world has changed from what we used to know it, and there's a need for, like somebody mentioned, John Maxwell mentioned, he said, there are a lot of problems everywhere that needs your assistance, that needs you. Problems actually are everywhere and they need you to come and help them, you know. So in being a change, in making positive impact, there are many things all around. You need to be intentional to say, and like we have said in this show today, you need to arise and recognize who you are, recognize that you are here, and that 50,000 years, like our guest told us, 50,000 years from now, there will be somebody that will need what you are doing. So you need to be intentional to say, okay, I'm going to do X because my life matters and because people after me are going to depend on what I am doing right now. And I think that is key. So while we try to round up, because I know your time, you are a very busy person, have you gone through challenges in life and how did you overcome it?
Oh my gosh. To come into the world was a challenge. Labor, right? So,
yeah.
Most of the challenges that I've had is things that I could not control, and they're beyond me. And what did I do is recognize that they're beyond me. Don't try to change them because someone created them to be as such. So what can I gain and learn from that? And the momentum that I can do is like, this is not going to happen again. This is not going to occur this way. And I'm going to be intentional that it does not happen. And the challenge that arise, I have to face them because they only are challenges if I never met them. And so to meet them, I need to understand what is it I'm actually doing. Why is this a burden or a challenge to me, and how can I overcome it? I'm not going to sit there and be like, woe is me. I may do it for like 3 seconds, but then I have to gather myself and be like, you got to do this. Because the only way you're going to get over this is getting through it. And it may take 5, 10, 15 years, but trouble don't last always. There's another solution with another problem, and you just have to find a way to fix it.
Interesting. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great way, the way our guest said it, trouble don't last that way, but finding a solution and another problem also comes and starts all over again. Like somebody said, he said, if you don't have problems or challenges, it means actually you should be in the cemetery. Only the people in the cemetery don't have problems or challenges. And somebody said problems or challenges are a sign that you are actually living. You are a human being. You are actually breathing. And to be able to find that creative genius in you to be able to surmount. So if you are watching this show tonight online or you are watching the replay, whatever be your problem or challenge, wherever you are to define it, you can overcome them and you can surmount them if only you recognize that it's not the end of the world. And
you know, there's a practice that someone recently last year, his name is Dr. Gordon, that we practice, which is my part of mind-body medicine, where you dialogue with your problem and your challenge.
Okay.
So you're having a dialogue with the problem you have.
Okay.
So whatever it is, you talk to it and you write it out, and you see that you're so intertwined with the challenge that you let it overcome you, because you start to dialogue and then you look at the conversation, and this problem has become a part of your life. They're a person. You've defined them as a person. And problems shouldn't be like that. They're momentary. You're not married to them. You're not in passionate wild affairs with them. So have that dialogue, write it down, see how you're going to get through the solution, but you gotta battle that. But know that that's not something that's supposed to be with you forever. It's just right? You gotta get the solution, and eventually another one will come. And then you get that solution, because problems are many.
Interesting.
That's why we have many solutions.
Interesting. Wow. It's been a wonderful time, ladies and gentlemen, tonight, and our guest has unpacked. Even though we would have loved to have her, but we know she's very busy. We have just 2 minutes to 1 hour that we started.
I just want to say one last thing before, because I know this is going to go everywhere.
Yeah.
I want to say a special hello to my family in Ibadan. Did I say it right, sir?
Yes, you did.
Okay. I've been practicing for 4.5 years. And the Adiemos, and the Badamas, and also my husband. I won't say, I'll tell you what his name means. My happiness have arrived. Goodness has arrived.
Goodness has arrived. Interesting.
Yes, but comes goodness, there's wahala. Because my problems be too great.
So, since his goodness has arrived, and you are bringing the wahala, and there's a cataclysm of it, and now there's a new...
There you go, sir. There you go. So, I thank you so much for having me on tonight, and I say a big hello from Jamaica to Nigeria, and from the U.S. to Nigeria, and for everyone that's in the diaspora. We are one continent. We are just many places, and our problems are not too great that we cannot unify together to solve the many challenges that are before us. But just remember to look at ourselves and figure out how can we be intentional with our time here on the planet. And I just thank you, sir, for having me here. It's been a pleasure. I hope to come back another day.
Yes.
Another time, another moment,
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for coming. It's been a great time.
No problem.
All right. So, thank you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you can exit now. I can't find the... Swam is saying thank you. It was so nice listening to you. That's the feedback from Swam.
Thank you. Oh, and if you need to reach out to me, it is, you can reach me on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
My name appears as Dr. Stephanie Hayden, Hayden hyphen Adiemo, Adeyemo. Then you can also find me on Facebook the same way. And then if you need to reach me for, coaching, thought therapy, my email address is nomadinc2world@gmail.com, which is nomadinc2world@gmail.com. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, sir.
Excellent.
Have a great one.
Thank you so much. Bye. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm trying to remove... Okay. Excellent. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that was a great one tonight. Thank you very much. Thank you for everybody who has joined tonight. It's been a great one in which we'll try to unpack. You can rewatch this if you just join in, and you're going to learn great thing about the issue of identity. Be intentional. That's what Dr. Hayden is saying tonight. Be intentional. Everyone you meet, be intentional to be a positive influence and to leave a sweet taste, as it were, in the mouth of the person you are going to be meeting. So that's how it is for us this particular week. We are going to take a break on Friday. On Friday, we will not be having the show on this Friday. We will start back on Tuesday next week by the grace of God, when we bring you another guest. I have a function this particular Friday that I will not be available. So see you next week by the grace of God. You will see the advert of our next guest on the show. Thank you, everybody who has joined. Becky, thank you. Choma, thank you. Sylvia, thank you. Swam, thank you. Mo Shadi, thank you. Wanedi Japa. Thank you, everybody. And I hope you enjoy your night. Bye. God bless. Bye.